Well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we do have quite a bit to go over today. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sandy Liking, and I have my colleague Jenny Anderson here with me today. And today what we're going to be talking about is going over the basic newspaper reporting categories. And just bear with me here. I'm trying to get my PowerPoint here to work. So today what we're going to be going over is doing an overview of the different categories for paid, qualified non-paid, and verified non-paid distribution for AAM reporting. These are going to be the basic categories, the most popular ones that are used. This is a great webinar if you're new to AAM reporting or even just as a refresher. We're also going to briefly touch base about the differences about paid and qualified non-paid digital units. How do you report your digital units for paid and qualified non-paid? Do want to point out that we're just briefly going to touch base about digital. We will have a separate webinar for newspapers that is devoted only for digital, and that will be coming at a future date. We're also going to discuss the basics of affiliated publications. What is an affiliated publication? What are the different categories you can use to report affiliated publications, and how is it being reported? Once I go over the basic definitions of these different category elements, then I'm going to switch it over to my colleague, Jenny Anderson, and she's going to go over the Media Intelligence Center, which is AAM's database. And she's going to show you the different ways that you can do trending competitive analysis for the different newspaper categories. I also want to point out that all our clients have full access to all the reports and analyzing tools within our Media Intelligence Center. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just bear with me here as I click through. So what we're going to be touching base today is when you see an AAM document for newspapers, the very first thing you will notice is going to be the paragraph 1 information. Paragraph 1 is going to be the average distribution for paid, qualified, non-paid, and verified. Paid distribution is as long as the subscriber or consumer paid at least 1 penny for the publication, it's considered paid distribution. Qualified circulation, what this is, the end consumer did not pay for the publication, but we have a lot of information about that consumer. So technically it's non-paid distribution. Also, too, we're going to touch base about verified circulation. Verified is the second tier of non-paid distribution, and we'll get into how what is the differences between qualified non-paid and verified non-paid. So to begin with, we're going to be focusing on first paid circulation, and we're going to be focusing on home delivery and mail. And home delivery and mail, usually what this is made up is of in your AAM circulation records is your carriers, your motor routes, and your mail copies. And then also too, we'll look at business traveler copies. Before I discuss the qualifications for paid, I need to touch base what net of considerations is. A consideration is anything that's offered to the consumer to entice them, to induce them to subscribe to your publication, to purchase your publication. So a net of consideration is all the monies that's left over when you subtract out the monies for that inducement from the purchase price. And that leftover monies is what's remaining for that publication. So if you had a premium of a coffee mug and that coffee mug was $1 and your subscription is $10, the net of considerations would be $9 for the subscription because you need to deduct that dollar that was that value of the coffee mug. So when we're talking about paid distribution for home delivery and mail, those are your subscriptions. And as long as the consumer paid at least 1 penny net of consideration, so you're getting 1 penny for that subscription, it is counted as paid distribution. Next is single copy sales, same principle. The only difference is instead of the consumer paying for subscription, they're just paying for 1 single unit of your publication. So it's a single copy sale. Single copy sale, as long as they paid at least 1 penny net of considerations, it is considered paid single copy. The next level of paid distribution is known as business traveler. The most common category for business traveler is hotel lobby copies. Now, these hotel lobby copies, and the hotel is paying for these papers to be distributed in a common area for their hotel guest. And this is a reoccurring distribution for the hotel. It's not a one-time event. They do it maybe once a week or for all 7 days, but it's reoccurring. So it's more than just a one-time deal for the hotels. Hotels, they need to, when they purchase these newspapers for their guest, it needs to be placed in a common area for them, easy pickup for the guest to be able to pick up the newspaper. So it's usually in the lobby. Also, too, the hotel, you cannot, in order to count these copies, you cannot have more copies than there were occupied rooms. And the hotel is being billed on a regular billing cycle for these copies. So that is considered business traveler hotel lobby copies. In this instance, this is only for print. Digital is not available for business traveler hotel lobby copies. I do want to point out, we will discuss this real briefly as we get into further in the presentation, but you will be able to count digital for hotel delivery and mail for paid and paid single copy sales. Next, we're going to jump into qualified distribution. Again, this is non-paid distribution. We're going to take a look at home delivery requested and targeted. We're also then going to jump down to qualified circulation for single copy sales, which involves your education copies, which is known as NIE, employee copies, and the retail business copies. The highest level of non-paid distribution a publication can have is qualified home delivery requested. Now, the consumer did not pay for the newspaper, but they did request it. The other thing to be qualified as home delivery requested, your sampling program is at least a 12-week sampling program. The consumer, they requested, so they opted in to receive the newspaper. It's for residential only, so it's not any retail business. It's only for residential units. And you know the exact address of that consumer. Also, too, each issue of the publication will have an opt-out notice. So at any point in time, that consumer can choose not to have the paper delivered to them. If it is an ongoing sampling program, so it's a year-round sampling program, there has to be an annual attempt to contact the consumer to verify that they still want to receive the paper. Also, too, you can have affiliated publications be part of home delivery requested. So editorial content is not necessarily required, but it does have to be a vehicle for your FSIs, which are your freestanding inserts. It has to be a product that's known in the marketplace and that has your coupons included. In this instance, home delivery requested can be for print or digital. If you are going to be counting digital, it's going to be on the day of access that they requested it. So on the day of access, if you're looking at digital, it's only on the day of access, so they get it 7 days a week and they only opt to receive it. They only access it once a week. You can only count it once a week for digital. Next level of qualified distribution is home delivery targeted. Similar to requested, but there is not a time limit of how long the sampling program has to be. It can be 1 day, it could be 3 weeks, it could be a year-round program. There's no payment required. It's also not a requested product. However, it is address specific, meaning that the publication knows exactly the address where this publication is being delivered to. It is for residential units only, does not involve any retail business outlets. And if the sampling program is more than a day, on the first day of delivery, there does have to be an opt-out notification on the newspaper so that the consumer can opt out. In this instance, this program is only for print distribution only. Digital is not permitted. In order to be able to count non-paid for digital, the consumer has to be able to request it. So, and also too, they have to be able to log into have a unique username and password. So for targeted home delivery, it's not requested, So since it's not requested, that's why it does not qualify for digital reporting. So home delivery target is print only. Now we're going to get into qualified single copy sales. Again, this is non-paid distribution, but instead of being a subscription, it is for single copy units. In this instance, this is for newspaper and education, NIE. In order to qualify as newspaper and education, it's being used for accredited classroom setting, meaning it's going to an elementary school, junior high school, college. It could also be used for any accredited classroom type of program. So you could count those who for homeschooling as long as it's an accredited homeschool program. For NIE, what we will do is once a year, the publication has to collect affidavits from the teacher to verify, one, that they did request to have these copies distributed to their school for their classroom and used for classroom in a classroom setting, and also how many copies they've requested, how many students they have in their classroom. You can't have more papers than there are students. In this instance, for NIE, it can be either print or you can count it under digital. But if a teacher actually asks for both, they ask for print and digital for their classroom, that's great. But for AAM reporting, you have to choose. Are you going to count it under print or are you going to count that teacher under digital? You can't count that particular teacher under both, even though she signed up for both. So it's either one or the other. Next, the other popular qualified non-paid distribution for single copy sales is employee copies. Publications, you have employees, so you can count your employees as long as for qualified single copy employee copies / independent contractors, you can count it under that category. It has to be easy availability for the employees, so it has to be easy access, whether it's in your lobby, easy access for the employee to get. You can't have more papers than there are employees / independent contractors. You can also count your independent contractors as long as they have access to the newspaper. Also, you can count freelance writers, correspondents. As long as they contribute at least an article once a month, you can count them. And employee copies can be print or digital, but not both. So if you have a particular employee who is getting both print and digital, that's great. But to count that particular employee, you need to choose. Do you want to count them under print or do you want to count them under digital? The last category we're going to discuss for qualified non-paid distribution is retail business copy. Back in the old days, this used to be referred to as bulk copies. These are copies that a retail establishment, such as a restaurant, a hospital, car dealership, they requested copies to be easily available for their patrons. It's when AAM, that you could have a retail business, you can have a contract with a retailer, a restaurant, and they're paying you for the copies. AAM is not going to look at payment. What we're going to look at to evaluate that this program qualifies is one, that retail establishment requested to have those copies available for their patrons, and that it's an ongoing program. It's not just for a 1 week or a 1 day event. They request it on a continual basis. So as long as that program is at least 3 months, you can count it as qualified retail business. In this instance, it is print only. We will not look at digital. The next level of non-paid distribution, the second tier, is verified circulation. In this instance, there's not as much information known about the end consumer, so it is categorized as verified circulation. The most popular category for verified distribution is home delivery market coverage. What this is, it's a sampling program, very similar to your requested targeted program, but in this instance, the consumer didn't request it. It is a program that you are just distributing newspapers in a known area. It's either you're distributing to an entire town, a subdivision, or a zip code. It's not necessarily address specific. You're delivering to all the residents who are not paid subscribers, but anyone who's on that street who's a non-paid subscriber, you're delivering to. So it's your TMCs is what this program is meant for. What we do need to know, though, for AAM reporting is you need to maintain detailed route maps and distribution areas. So we need to know, even though it may not be address specific, we need to at least know the streets that it's being distributed to, because we're going to be assuming that if it's for a particular town, that everyone in that town is getting your product. For verified distribution, digital is not permitted at all for any of the categories. Again, in order to count for non-paid digital, it has to be requested. And for verified distribution, it is not a requested copy. So that's why digital is not permitted. So all verified distribution is print only. The other popular category for verified distribution is your public access event distribution. These are copies that are free copies that are handed at a particular event. Right now we have baseball that is starting, so we have opening day. Cubs actually, our opening day is today. It was supposed to be yesterday, but we had snow on the ground. So we had to postpone for today. But you can hand out your newspaper at an event, and you can count that under verified event distribution. The records you'll need to maintain to be able to count that is the name of the event, the date of the event that it's occurring, how many copies are distributed at the event, and the number of attendees at the event. We just need to make sure that you're not counting more papers than there were attendees. Again, this is a print only for print only distribution. Digital is not permitted. The other type of verified distribution you can have is verified access apartments. And these are free papers that are being delivered to apartment complexes, and it's being dropped off in a common area, easy access for the residents of the apartments to get. And each paper has to have an opt-out instruction, so if they don't want to receive it, they can just opt out not to get the paper. Again, similar to events, we need to know the day of distribution, the number of copies, the name of the apartment complex, and address. Digital is not permitted. Lastly is verified public access recs and other distribution. This is free. Again, it's your paper being distributed free at various racks. Publisher has control of where these racks are located. A prime example would be a rack that's at a bus stop that has your free paper in there. It is it's usually distributed at non-residential places, so near a supermarket, a bus stop. What we need to know is the date of distribution, the location of the rack, and number of copies. And again, digital is not permitted. Now we're going to touch just real briefly about digital. We're going to talk about the reporting for digital. In this example here we have digital replica, we have a paid subscription, we have education copies, and then we are getting into digital non-replica. So before I get into the different reporting categories for digital, I just need to touch base about the difference between a digital replica and a digital non-replica. A digital replica edition, basically it's the exact copy of your print edition. The only difference is that it's on electronic format. So it's in your laptop, it's on your desktop, it's on your phone, your Kindle, but it's the exact replica of your print edition. It looks exactly like the print. So when you look on it on your laptop and you compare it to your print, it's exactly the same, page for page, graphic for graphic. The only thing that it will not include are your freestanding inserts. So it's the same layout, same editorial content, looks exactly the same as your print. Digital non-replica, similar to the replica edition, the only thing is a curtailed version of your newspaper. Editorial may be just a little bit different, advertising may be slightly different. It is meant to fit more on your tablet or your phone. So it's easy reading, easy viewing ability for the smaller electronic devices. So such as your e-readers. Your e-readers may not be the digital replica. It may be a curtailed version of the newspaper. So that would be considered a digital non-replica. Some basics for qualification for reporting. Paid distribution for digital only subscription. In this instance here, what I'm talking about is a consumer subscribed for a digital edition only. They're not getting print. So it's just a digital edition only. Just like your print side for paid, as long as the consumer paid at least 1 penny net of consideration, you can count that subscription every single day of that subscription term. In this instance, we're looking at payment. We're not looking at access because it's a digital only subscription. Where it gets a little bit different is when you're looking at a bundled subscription, when a consumer has both paid and print and digital. When they subscribed, they got, for one inclusive price, they got print and digital. The reporting elements are a little bit different for how to count digital. So we will be discussing that in another webinar because it gets a little bit more detailed. So in this instance, I'm talking about digital only subscriptions. Next is for your non-paid distribution. It's the qualified non-paid requested subscriptions. So as long as the consumer requested to receive the digital edition, they opt in, they register, they activate, you can count that consumer as qualified non-paid requested, but only on the day of access. So if a consumer signed up to get your requested to have your digital edition every single day for 3 months, but they only accessed it 20 times during that 3-month period, you can only count them 20 times on that day of access. What we need to maintain is, one, the opt-in activation for that consumer, and also the logged-in files, the access logged-in files. Usually you have a third-party vendor that is tracking your consumers who access your digital edition. You'll need to get the reports from your third-party vendor. We also have qualified non-paid education copies, your NIE copies. Like I had stated before, you can count NIE as digital. So if you have a teacher who requested to receive the newspaper as a digital edition, you can count that under digital. But if a teacher requested both print and digital, you can only count it either under print or digital, but not both. What we will look at is the order and affidavit from the teacher to make sure that the teacher ordered to have the digital edition, and also how many, just like the print, the number of students in her classroom and how long she wants to receive the newspaper. Also, we have qualified non-paid employee copies. Employee copies, they can be counted as digital too, and the reason why is because most likely the employee of your publication is either going to read the print or the electronic version. So the chances of them reading the publication are pretty high, so that's why it qualifies to be counted under digital. To count an employee copy, it's either going to be under print or digital, but you can't include an employee under both. So if I was an employee at your publication, you can either count Sandy under print or you can count Sandy under digital, but you can't count Sandy under print and digital. Verify non-paid distribution. So home delivery market coverage, public access copies to events or apartment complexes, racks and other distribution is print only. Any category under verified non-paid distribution is print only. You cannot count digital. Reason being is that in order to be counted non-paid as a digital unit, it has to be requested. In verified distribution, there is not a request. So this is just a quick little grid to show you about what can count as digital and what cannot. So paid home delivery, yes, you can have digital. Paid single copies, yes. Paid business hotel lobby copies, no, it's print only. Qualified non-paid home delivery requested is yes. Qualified non-paid home delivery target is no. Reason why, it's because it's not requested. Qualified NIE and qualified employee copies, those both can have digital. Qualified non-paid retail business and all verified non-paid distribution categories are no for digital. Now we're going to touch base briefly about affiliated publications. Affiliated publications is a product that the publication owns. Back in the day, there used to be a lot of restrictions about affiliated publications. They were known as branded editions for AAM reporting. All those restrictions have been lifted. The main thing for AAM is that the publication owns the product. So it can be a newspaper, it can be a magazine. It also, it doesn't necessarily have to have editorial content. It could be a vehicle that just handles your FSI. So it could be a cover sheet with a name on it that's a product name, and have just your coupons inserted, and that can be considered an affiliated publication. As long as it's recognized in the marketplace. Common example would be Yes, Your Essential Shopper. It's basically a cover sheet, has some maybe a couple articles, but mostly it is a vehicle to handle your coupons. So as long as it's recognized, you can count it as an affiliated publication. Affiliated publication can be a paid product, it can be a qualified non-paid product, or a verified product. So it can be any reporting distribution elements for AAM. It could also be digital or print. And the same rules apply for print and digital for affiliated publications, so the rules are exactly the same. It could be any frequency, so it could be a weekly product, a monthly product, a quarterly product. And I want to show you how it is going to be reported for AAM. Right now, this screen that I'm showing here are just some examples of affiliated publication. It could be your weekly publication, Yes, Your Essential Shopper, or your own type of TMC product. In this example, we're using Star Tribune Strip Express. So now I'm going to show you how it's reported for AAM. What's great about affiliated publications to report them, it's the affiliated publication is going to be reported under your main member number for your publication. So you don't have to hold separate memberships for each affiliated publication you own. Instead, you can report it under your main publication. Why would you want to do that? Well, the reason why is what's great about it is that you will have one report that shows not only your main publication, but also your branded edition, your other publications that you own. It'll show what your total publication is for your main edition, and then it'll have a separate line item for each affiliated publication and their total distribution. But what's great about this is then it has a total combined average, which adds both your main publication and all your affiliates together to give that the reader of your report an idea of what your total distribution is for not only your main product, but also for your affiliated products. So it's a great way to show advertisers, hey, this is what my total distribution footprint is. Also, too, what's great about affiliated publications is that within the body of paragraph 1, it's going to have its own reporting section. So in this example, we have paragraph 1C, it's L Extra, and it's going to show the different categories for L Extra. They have qualified circulation, home delivery, and targeted. If I go down to 1D, because the Mid-Valley Town Choir, it's going to show their distribution. Their distribution is broken down by qualified and verified. So you get that detailed level of distribution for each publication, but it's under one member number, so it's under the main member number for your publication. And not only do you have separate reporting, but it also has a combined average total for you to show that total distribution. So before I turn it over to Jenny, I'm just going to summary kind of what we went over is we talked about paid distribution and qualified distribution and verified distribution for home delivery. We have paid, just remember it's at least the consumer paid at least 1 penny net of considerations. You can count that as paid. Qualified requested copies, this is where it's a non-paid product, but the consumer requested it. It's at least a 12-week sampling program, and the address, it's address specific. Qualified targeted, it's a non-paid program, it's a non-paid sampling program. Again, it's going to residential units, and there has to be an opt-out notice on the first day of delivery, and it's address specific. Verified home delivery, which is home delivery market coverage, it's going to residential units. Its address is not known. However, you do know the area. You have detailed route maps of exactly where this product is being delivered to. Single copy in a snapshot, paid single copy, again, consumer paid at least 1 penny net of consideration. The other type of qualified single copy sales, you have qualified retail business. This is where the retail establishment, such as a restaurant, hospital, car dealership, requested copies to be available, easy access for their patrons. We're not looking at payment, so these restaurants could pay you for these copies, but we're not looking for payment. What we're looking is that it's a reoccurring, that they're a reoccurring program, meaning that the restaurant, the car dealership, they're going to be having these newspapers easy access for their patrons for a continual basis. So it's not just a one-time deal; it's a continual cycle. Verify racks and other distribution. This is non-paid. This is where the publication has controls where these racks are distributed. And these racks, where they're located, is usually at a bus stop, at a supermarket, things of that nature. And we just need to know how many copies are in that rack and the day of distribution. So those are the reporting elements in a nutshell for newspapers. And what I'm going to do now is turn it over to my colleague, Jenny Anderson. She's going to go over our database, which is known as the Media Intelligence Center. She's going to show you different ways you can trend and analyze this data. I do want to remind everybody that all our clients have full access to all the reports and analyzing tools in our Media Intelligence Center. So bear with me as I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to go on to a live demo for our Media Intelligence Center.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, everybody, for attending today and staying with us here as we do a 45-minute webinar. We appreciate your attendance. Sandy did a great job of going over all the definitions for our newspapers, our paid and non-paid categories. So now that we know more about what type of data we have, let's get to how are we going to access this data. So what we want to do is we want to log into the Media Intelligence Center. So this is on our main page, which is auditedmedia.com, and come up here to the login section, and we're going to click on Media Intelligence Center. If you do not have a login for the Media Intelligence Center, there is a phone number here on the bottom of the new user side, 224-366-6339. That can get you access to your new user login information. If you are a returning user, you just need to log in here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to sign in. And all returning users, just remember to select that Remember Me box, and then you're good to go with logging in. Now, what you can see here is our main page of the Media Intelligence Center. So I'm going to go over just the newspaper information and just a few of the reports available to us that really encompass what Sandy talked about this afternoon. There's a lot more that you can do in the Media Intelligence Center. It's vast, and we have webinars that are going on through the spring, through the end of May. So please, check out our training page here on our website and, see what kind of webinars that you can access. Also, we're available anytime for training. So contact Sandy or Jenny Anderson, or you can call this number up here, this 877 number at the top. This is for support. This email and phone number comes directly to me. So let's start here with the main page of the MIC. When using the MIC, please use Google Chrome or Firefox. Internet Explorer is not compatible with our system. So to save yourself some headaches, please do use either of those browsers or another browser that's not Internet Explorer. So since we're looking at newspapers in particular here, under the publication filter, I'm going to put a check mark to the left of newspaper. Now I'm doing that because now it just concentrates on newspaper. I know that I'm looking at just newspapers and accessing data that way. So I'm going to show you just a couple of our filters here on the left-hand side. So now I can pick a group of individual newspapers if I want by using these filters. I can also go up here in the search by bar and just start typing in a newspaper, like let's say the Abilene Reporter News, and I can click that. If you want to add an additional newspaper to that, put a comma but no space and start typing in your next paper. So I can get 3, 5, 10, 15 newspapers by doing this search by bar. Just remember to do a comma, no space in between each paper. I'm going to click the reset button, which is this circular button with an arrow on the end, and that resets our search. So going back to filters, once again, I'm going to choose the newspaper filter. I'm going to scroll down, and you can see under audit source we have AAM and CAC. If you don't select either of those, both will be represented in this list. Also, under quarterly reporting, we can check yes or no under quarterly reporting. You can also go down to country. Now, you are able to look at newspapers housed in the US or newspapers in Canada. There is a different analyzer tool for Canadian newspapers and for United States newspapers. So I'm going to press US right here. And so that has now filtered out our newspapers that are in the United States. So I'm going to check that again. And it's just taking a little bit of time. So that's how you filter out by country. Another important filter I want to make you aware of is parent company. People use the parent company filter all the time. So if you're looking for a group of newspapers that have a particular parent company, scroll down and you can access this group by just making a selection here. So let's say I'm choosing Cox Media Group and clicking Apply and Close. Now you'll see here that I've got my listing of newspapers under parent company Cox Media Group. You can choose other parent companies in addition. You can pick 1, 2, 3, however many parent companies you want. And the purpose is to get that list of newspapers that you want to pull into the analyzer tool. And that analyzer tool is where we're going to do our newspaper analysis. Other filters that you can choose here on the left-hand side are circulation filter. If you want to look at newspapers based on their circulation, you can do that. You can also look up a newspaper if you'd like to see newspapers that have circulation within a particular state. You can use the market search filter. But here we're going to stick with our Cox Media Group parent company papers as an example. And now what you must do to get into the analyzer tool is place a check mark next to at least one of these newspapers. Now I want to pull all into the analyzer, so I'm going to put a check mark to the left of publication name. That selects all of my titles. And as you may have noticed, as soon as I put a check mark to the left of publication name, this Analyze Data button popped up. This button is your doorway to the newspaper analyzer. When you click on it, it's going to process for just a few moments depending on the size of your newspaper list. But then eventually, when you click Analyze Data, it's going to provide you with a list of tabs at the top of the page. And using those tabs, you can access the analyzer tool. So really from the front page, you can pick, I would say to keep your list between 250 to 350, depending on the amount of data and the type of data that you want to download. It can take a little bit of time to process, and today it's running slowly. We've got a list of 22, and so for some reason today the MIC is running a little bit more slowly than normal. But I would keep my lists, I would say, about 250 to 350, and then you can access top line information, etc. Just depends on what type. So what I'm going to do is deselect all of my titles, and I'm just going to pull a couple into here. So I'm making my choices, and as you see, I'm selecting the newspapers I want to bring into the newspaper analyzer. And then I'm clicking the Analyze Data button. Now, as I said, when I click on that button, I've got my tabs here, and I want to look at the Newspaper Analyzer tab. So I click on the Newspaper Analyzer tab, and as you can see here, we've got several options for our standard reports. We've got to select our data source, which I'm going to leave at quarterly data because that's the default. It's the most recent data. What that means is the source is going to be the most recent quarter available for every paper. So I'm going to leave that selected. I'm going to go down, and current reporting period is also the default. As I said, some newspapers will have Q4 data out, about 74%. Others will have just Q3. That's their most recent. So this is going to pull that most recent document. And to access some of the information that Sandy was referring to today, I'm going to concentrate really on two reports, but then briefly go over another one as well. The first is executive summary. You have three options to access reports using these reports listed here. Your options are export, view report, or modify. So what export does is it automatically exports the predetermined column headers into an Excel file. So if you want just kind of the top line information and you wanted that quick exported right into Excel, just click that export icon. If you actually want to view the report prior to exporting it, you can click on view report. Now, when you get that, now you can check out what the column headers are prior to exporting. Then you just click this export button right here. A window is going to pop up. You're going to be able to choose your preferred format, which is usually Excel, and click OK. And then that report downloads for you. But your third option to access a report is the plus sign under modify. When I click that, a window is going to pop up. I prefer this way of accessing reports because I get to pick and choose which categories I want in my reports. Now, the default, that's already checked. You're going to see that grayed out. Those are automatically included in your report. So you'll see here we've got a total print, total digital replica, total digital non-replica, and a total circulation. But let's say you want to break out my total paid print. I'm going to select that, total qualified print, total verified. So I get to pick and choose my categories here or select all. Let's say you want everything. Then you just click submit in the upper right-hand corner and you'll see that loading option. And here you just click the export button. Use the window to choose your preferred format. And then click OK. And that's going to download for you. So that's executive summary. Print analysis. Now I'm going to click the plus sign to the right of print analysis to show you the modify option. Now you can see with the print analysis report, you have even more categories that you can choose from. You get an individually paid print breakout, which breaks out that home delivery and mail, paid single copy, individual paid print, that info that Sandy went over. The same info you can do for business traveler. It goes over that hotel guest refund, the room lobby copies, which Sandy mentioned earlier. We also have the qualified and the verified. Those are your non-paid options, which Sandy went over. Requested, targeted, the NIE, etc. So again, you can pick and choose what you want in your report or click select all, which in general I do because you can always delete a column from your report, but it's hard to get another report. You got to go back in and run it. So again, once you choose your data elements, click submit, and then here you can export your report. Real quickly, I want to show you how to access historical reports. Here you under select reporting period, you want to click on historical reporting period. Now, let's say you want to do some trending. Let's say you've pulled your newspaper and your competitor's newspaper into the analyzer, which you can do. Let's say we want to look at Q3 2017 over Q3 2016 over Q3 2015. We choose that here. Then you just go down and you choose your report. Let's say I want print analysis. So I'm going to click that plus sign, and I'm going to select all, and I'm going to click submit. Now, what's happening is it's loading our quarters, and it's pulling in the 2017, 2016, and 2015 quarters. Now that you have all of your information, you just click that export button and choose your preferred format. So if you want just the most recent, the current reporting period, just leave that checked for current reporting period. So also, you can choose the digital edition analysis report. These are the three I really wanted to concentrate on. And again, if you click that modify button, the plus sign, here again is what I call the nitty-gritty, and this is on digital analysis. So you can select all or just leave what's listed here, and then you click submit, and then you can export once this is ready to go. So it really all kind of goes in line. You get used to doing the same process through the analyzer. And very briefly, want to show you audited data. So when you come into the analyzer, let's say you want to deselect quarterly data and I want to access audited data. Now you'll notice there are a lot more reports in audited data, but the three we're concentrated on are the same that are in the quarterly: the executive summary, print analysis, and digital edition analysis. So the print analysis and digital edition analysis are going to go into the nitty-gritty aspects, and mostly print that Sandy talked about today. And now your source is audited data. So now it's going to pull for the publications you brought in. It's going to be their most recent audit. And you access this information by the export, view report, or modify options. And it works the same. I'll show you with executive summary. I click the plus sign under modify. I pick and choose the categories I want in my report or select all, and then I click submit. Now you'll see that loading sign again, the loading signal. You'll get the export button, choose your preferred format, and click OK. And that's how you export that. So that's very briefly how you access audited data and quarterly data via the newspaper analyzer. We went over that very briefly, but it helps to understand what's behind those definitions and now how to access them. So to end, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy.
Thank you, Jenny. I really appreciate that, going over the Media Intelligence Center. Just to let you know and remind you that you do have free, everyone has, all our AAM clients have free access to our Media Intelligence Center. So just take it, when you have an opportunity, just take a look at it. It's great for trending. It's great for competitive analysis and things of that nature. Do want to point out that we do have other future webinars coming up on April 26th. We're going to continue our newspaper webinar series, and we're going to go into zip code information. We're going to look into detail about zip codes, what is the different ways to report zip code information, and then how to analyze it in our Media Intelligence Center. Also, to another webinar that you may feel that will be beneficial will be the frequently asked questions about the Media Intelligence Center. Originally, we had this one scheduled in March, but we had to postpone it, and that has been rescheduled for June 7th. Also, too, I want to point out that at the end of the webinar, within the next couple of days, I will be sending everybody a recording of the webinar, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, so you have that as a reference guide. But at any point in time, if you have any questions about any of the newspaper reporting or how to access that information, you can always contact Jenny or myself. Again, Jenny had pointed out where that phone number was on our website. It's on the Media Intelligence Center. And I just logged out. Bear with me as I log back in. Here is our support line. You can call it 877-222-0932. And that will be directed to Jenny and myself. So with that, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you got some good information out of this webinar, and have a great day.